You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
All right, we are back, and it is our first show of the new year. So happy 2024 to everyone here. Welcome back to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation, and we have a stacked episode here to start off the new year.
We do indeed.
We do indeed. It's Andrew, Donovan, and Conor back here again, and it's going to be a good one. We're continuing on with our tradition we started last year, when we went over our favorite Star Wars stories of that previous year. So we're going to do that. We're going to be talking about our 5 favorite Star Wars stories of 2023. We're going to talk about what the year brought us, what our favorites of the year were. And then, because we are so lucky that we decided to record on a Monday randomly, we were gifted with the Bad Batch Season 3 trailer. Usually our luck would have been we would have recorded the episode and then the trailer would have dropped like the next day. But because it dropped today, we can talk about it in a timely manner. So we can talk about this trailer and the very interesting reveal that we got at the end of it. Because I was not expecting that, boys. If it wasn't for the first YouTube comment that pops up when you pull it up on your phone, and if it wasn't for that being spoiled in that comment, I don't know what noises I would have made, because it would have been pretty bad. But I think we should start right off. But actually, hold on. Before we do that, because we haven't talked since the holidays, did anyone get any good Star Wars stuff for during the Christmas season?
Oh yeah, no, I totally did for sure. Like I got Crimson Climb, which I have been meaning to read. Sadly, it will not be making it onto the list this year. Like, there's probably going to be a bit of revisionism on my part, because I didn't get to read nearly as much Star Wars stuff this year as last year as I was hoping to. But yeah, I got Crimson Climb, Eye of Darkness, and the other Quest for Planet X. So my Phase 2 collection is quite rounded out now, aside from the comic section. And I also got a very, very impressive Lego Chewbacca, which I will be displaying much later on my on social media. So yeah, look out for that, listeners.
I got a couple like cute little things, but I got the same 2 books you got. So I got Eye of Darkness and Crimson Climb. I got Cataclysm and Path of Vengeance, because I hadn't gotten those yet. And I think that's everything I got. Because I was
got a bunch of adult stuff.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, hey, books.
Did you get any baseball stuff, Connor?
Wait, what did I get? I did ask. I did ask for a Phillies Bryce Harper jersey, but they're sold out.
Life happens.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Me. Every time I try to buy a jersey of whatever player, it's always sold out. I'm like, all right, I'll get to this in 3 months.
Let's see, what did I get? I got a family cookbook, a bunch of kitchen stuff, Madden 24, which was the gift in place of the Harper jersey. I can't remember what else I got. Oh, and a bunch of Eagles stuff, like
nice
and shit. So
I should have led with the Eagles stuff. I saw the Phillies thing in your name, and that just like that my brain just went to
fair assumption,
Yeah.
I also got a D&D book as well. I also got the Player's Guide to D&D, and also like as a like belated like Christmas gift afterwards, the Explorer kit for D&D. So I am very much into my Dungeons and Dragons phase now, after like because I'm going to blame Critical Role for me not having consumed as much Star Wars stuff last year, because my time has been spent catching up on that, and I'm still only like 25 episodes deep currently. Oh, there's a lot of stuff to catch up on.
How could I forget? My big Christmas gift to myself was I finally got a PS5, and I finally have gotten my hands on Jedi Survivor, which I started as of recording last night. Will it make it onto the list? Well, you'll have to wait and see.
Intriguing.
But let's talk about the Bad Batch. So let's just get right off the bat. If you don't want spoilers, skip ahead to when the list starts. But here we go. Asajj fucking Ventress is back, ladies and gentlemen.
Ventress lives. My goodness.
So my first thoughts were how, and then it was so Dave's now retconning his own stuff, huh? But but then they put out the press release, and they have this quote, which I will read from Brad Rao. It says, "We love Asajj Ventress. She's a character we've been wanting to tell more stories about." And then he says, and he makes it clear that her return will honor prior tales, including the book in which her character apparently perished. We don't want to spoil anything, but want fans to know that any new storytelling with Ventress will align with the events of Star Wars Dark Disciple. So if you don't know, Dark Disciple was a book that came out in, I want to say 2015, that published, it was I believe a 7 or 8 episode arc of the Clone Wars that got unproduced when the series was first canceled back in 2013. They turned those episode scripts, they turned it into a book. It's one of the first canon books after the Legends realignment. And it's about
2015 that it launched.
2015. Katie Lucas, George's daughter, wrote the scripts for those episodes, and then it was adapted by Christy Golden. It's basically about Ventress and Quinlan Voss going on a mission. Quinlan ends up turning to the dark side. Then he's like, nope, I'm back. And then Ventress, spoiler alert, dies at the end of that book. Or so we thought. Now, I haven't finished Dark Disciple. I got about 4 chapters in, and then I think like Fallen Star came out, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to start reading this. And then, of course, I haven't finished that yet either. So, we're just doing great. So, but from what I remember hearing, it's like pretty final. So I'm interested in seeing how they handle it.
Me too.
Now they could do like, obviously she's Dathomirian and she's a Night Sister, so there's something right there that they can Night Sister magic. There we go. I'm not going to judge it until it's done and until we see it. I am, however, very hyped getting to actually see. This is the first time that we've seen like on an on-screen medium the short Ventress hair and the yellow saber. We've only ever seen that in like illustrations. We've never seen that before on screen, which is kind of crazy to think about because that's kind of an iconic look, like in its own right.
Yeah.
Like there's a Galaxy's Edge saber of the yellow blade, which is just only ever been in the books.
It's interesting. Someone pointed out that it's a different design as well from the Galaxy's Edge saber, and I've hypothesized that I think they've revised the design, made it a more curved design like her original sabers, because obviously it's a different one because, as we'll cover down the line with Clone Wars, Barriss Offee steals her lightsabers, so she never gets them back. But I think they've changed the design because they actually used the model for her yellow lightsaber for Darth Maul in Series 7. They use it as like half of his lightsaber, his double-bladed saber. Yeah, because it's like because they had to kind of like show that it was like he built it quite recently, I think. So it wasn't the Rebel saber, which doubles as a walking stick, but it also is just like an add-on clearly to his Phantom Menace saber. And I also have to mention Katrina Dennis, who, anyone who's read SWE stories will know she wrote the SWEF story, Ventress Golden, which was like a potential origin for the yellow saber. My thoughts immediately went to Katrina because I know how much of a massive fan she is of Ventress, and it's just a heartwarming thing to like see her reaction and like everyone just so united over this character's return because it's something so many of us had never even considered.
Yeah,
because like you said, Dark Disciple is so final. It really did feel like the bow on Ventress's story. And I will speak as someone who's read Dark Disciple because I read it once, and it does hold a special place in my heart because I read it just as I joined the SWE Discord where I met you guys. So I was reading it just when I was like getting more acquainted with Star Wars books, and then we read it again for the book club that we had on SWE server, Discord server, and it was really cool to share in that with everyone. And even revisiting it, I always remember feeling a little like as well done as I felt her death was. I always felt a little like I wish Ventress could have lived. It would be so interesting to see more from her. And not only do I like that they're bringing her back, but I feel it's also fits thematically, and it's also especially gratifying for Jennifer Corbett, the showrunner of this series, considering she was the showrunner for Resistance, and one of the ideas they had for Resistance was that they were going to have Ventress in that show and have her fight Kylo Ren.
I was going to bring that up. There's a character in Resistance. I don't remember her name, but there's an episode in season 2 where Kaz. I'm getting my names mixed here. He comes across this like old treasure hunter who specializes in hunting Sith artifacts. And Justin Ridge and Jennifer Corbett, like you said, their original plan was for it to be Ventress. And then either Pablo or Dave were like, no, we can't do this because she died in the Clone Wars episodes we never made. So they've been wanting to bring her back for a long time. So then that leads to me saying to what I was talking with Conor before we started recording, which is, well, then why did they kill her in the first place if they like always wanted to keep using Ventress?
Well, because it's like that was written. The thing is, that was written, I suppose, when Clone Wars was winding down, and there was maybe still some ideas about, Ahsoka and other characters kind of going away and not really being as prevalent, because I suppose, because I think George was flirting still with doing a sequel trilogy before selling to Disney, and he wanted to kill Ahsoka, and he felt like Ahsoka, it was natural for her to die, and Filoni managed to convince him, but that's
imagine if that happens.
That would be crazy. It's something we all assumed, but
imagine the world where the end of season 5. Well, I mean, the Siege of Mandalore was going to happen, but imagine a world where Clone Wars just ends at season 5. We don't get the revival, and the very last thing we ever see Ahsoka in is that last episode, The Wrong Jedi, and we never see her again.
Dude, I remember watching that. Not vividly. It's weird. I can't I can't talk. I vividly cannot remember a good amount of things, but the most basic mundane stuff I could fairly vividly remember. The Clone Wars season 5 finale, cannot really remember. I remember just kind of sitting there watching it and the credits rolled, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah. Because I have the different music and everything, and you're like, oh, this hurts. And I didn't watch it until years later. But I was because when I watched it at this point, she had already been back and written off, and then came back in Rebels. So her entire rest of her animated arc had already happened at that point. But I watched it, I'm like, shit, this hits hard. But I get so great. I'm glad that you shouted out Katrina Dunn, because I was going to, because speaking of Ventress Golden,
they wrote a phenomenal story.
Yeah, if you want to hear Katrina talk more about how much they love Asajj Ventress, go back and watch. This was about over a year ago at this point. Conor and I interviewed Katrina on this channel, talking about that short story. Go ahead and watch that episode. I might link it in the description. It was a great discussion, and I really want to bring that series back. I'm waiting for the right moment.
They're a valued part of the Star Wars community. That's what I'll say.
Exactly, and they've been pitching ideas for Ventress to come back for age. I feel like just a couple days ago they were tweeting about, well, if they want to do Ventress Tales of the Jedi season 2, I have entire scripts ready, so Lucasfilm call me. So there you go.
Let them cook, Lucasfilm.
Let them cook.
Come on.
So here's my other thing: is with Ventress, obviously comes Quinlan Voss. So I'm going to ask this question for what feels like the 5th Star Wars project in a row. Is this finally when we get more Quinlan Voss?
They have the model, Andrew. They can literally put him in if they want to. I mean, my batshit pitch to Lucasfilm would be Kenobi season 2. Put both of them in it. And have Obi-Wan be the matchmaker that reunites them both. And then we get to see Ewan flirt some more with Ventress. Get live action there's no way that they're putting her in this now. And this is part of my excitement, is that there's no way they're putting her in this now if they're not going to do something with her in live action. And look at the wording
in the article. any new storytelling with Ventress. So that implies that, hey, it's not just Bad Batch season 3.
What if
gonna
she's
be
on
in the plans.
Dathomir?
That would
Like
be
she
sick.
could be on.
In
Like, what if
Ahsoka?
that's Ahsoka too? Like, what if Ahsoka? That's the reason Bad Batch has to come out now. Is that like Ahsoka season 2 is gonna like Thrawn is gonna touch down on Dathomir, and actually we're gonna find Ventress has been there, like building a new coven of Night Sisters. That would be pretty dope.
I like your pitch that you had of Kenobi season 2 just being a rom-com where
I'd love it.
Kenobi is
It'd be
just
so
playing
good.
matchmaker for Quinlan and
Oh, it's
Ventress.
great.
People be like, what the hell is this? And we'd be like, this is fucking peak cinema
great.
is what this
It's
is.
like Austin's Emma, but with Ewan McGregor instead. It's great.
So
and how good is it to hear Nika Futterman's voice?
oh my
After
god.
years, the chill I got from hearing her speak the lines again, and again, it's like hearing David Tennant as the Doctor in the 60th anniversary, just not lost a step at all. Brilliant, love it.
So it's like I'm curious of how she's going to play into the story.
Yeah,
because like because at the end of Disciple, I believe she's gone back to the light side. So is that going to continue? Is she going to be more of like a Fennec Shand kind of anti-hero character where she comes in conflict with the Batch? It'll be interesting. But end of February, where I believe the 21st is, I believe, when the episodes drop. So we will have.
We're gonna get a Crosshair and Hunter reunion. They were in this trailer together, and Crosshair has his old armor back. How awesome is that?
My brain. Oh god, that just brings me back to season 2 when the day before the finale, I was like, bring Crosshair home. It's gonna fucking happen. And then Tech dies. Omega gets kidnapped. Crosshair's still on Mount Tantus.
Have you seen the theories about
that Tech is
that clone? That clone with the bug eyes.
That was going to be my next question. Is we have another one of those assassin clones that was in season 2, and we were like, "Whoa, when are they going to follow up on this?" And then they just didn't. And so, like, we were assuming that it would play a role in here, and it shows up again. I've seen some people say Crosshair. I've seen some people say Cody. Do you have any early suspicions? Do you think there's going to be multiple of these?
I think multiple, probably, maybe different types of them, but I do have an inkling that could be Tech, because it does kind of match what I would imagine an imperialized version of Tech would be, with the kind of the pack and the almost kind of bug eyes making up for his spectacles. Like they did have Dr. Hemlock did have his glasses, so maybe they did recover his body after the Batch fled and basically put him back together, like with Echo. It's very much a possibility, and it would be kind of a neat switch if, as we kind of talked about like in previous videos, like Omega and Crosshair get out off of Mount Tantis early on, or at least by the halfway point, and then it turns out, oh, actually Tech's still alive, and we got to go back and get him, and maybe we. It's
every time they think they're done with Tantis, it's like, oh fuck, someone else is there. We got to go back.
It's like that meme. Oh shit, here we go again. Yeah, it was a really good trailer.
Could you maybe not go back to Mount Tantis for 5 minutes?
Yeah, and there's also,
why does everyone want to go back to Jakku? But it's Mount Tantis.
Told you, junkyard.
A couple other things we can talk about. We got Rex back again. We know he's going to probably be playing a major role here. Hemlock being just the most despisable villain known to mankind. And we got to see, I think there was only one shot of Omega and Crosshair together, but it was a great one, where Omega's just walking with the other prisoners and she just makes direct eye contact with Crosshair and sees him. And that's heartbreaking. Yes, we talked about Ventress for about 10 minutes, and that is the one part of the season I am the most excited about, is the Omega and Crosshair on Tantis, them like finally getting that time to really develop a partnership, like how we've had with Tech and Echo last season and with Hunter and Wrecker in season 1. Crosshair is finally getting his due, which I'm so excited about. And again, those Crosshair episodes, which we will be talking about later, are some of the best Star Wars animated episodes that there's been in quite some time. So,
Lieutenant.
Beautiful. You know who wasn't in the trailer is Lieutenant Nolan, because that motherfucker got shot. He's done.
That
It
man
reminds me
got
of a
whacked.
Critical Role moment.
Yeah. You know
Like,
who
a
else
moment
wasn't
with
in this? Go ahead.
I was just going to joke that it reminds me of like a Critical Role moment with Taliesin Jaffe's character when he takes out a character and very dramatically goes, "You fool, your soul is forfeit. Die, die."
You know who else wasn't in the trailer? Sid. And I hope she's not in the season.
Like she just shows up for like one instant to like beg forgiveness and they turn her away like, no, we don't deal with traitors. Yeah, get out of here. No, you gotta understand my hands were tied.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
we don't want your crusty
We
lizard
understand, and you're gone. You're done. You're canceled. There was there was a lot of great action. I'm so excited. We also got the episode titles, and we know that the final episode is now going to be the cavalry has arrived, and considering that's one of the first lines Wrecker I think has in the Clone Wars, that's going to kill me. One less episode than the other seasons, only 15 this time, but it's going to be a 3-episode premiere, which I am super excited about. We know that Cad Bane's coming back, Fennec Shand is coming back. I'm assuming Cody's going to be in there somewhere. There's just so much good stuff to look forward to,
and Wolf as well.
Wolf, yeah, is
Wait,
he?
Yeah,
what was the
was
episode?
Wolf the one with the purple armor?
No,
Or
he was.
that-
Like, we see him very briefly with his helmet.
Okay.
With his helmet, but he's still with the like. He basically looks as he did in the Clone Wars, but he's with the Imperial still. So we're going to see him get busted out, and maybe like see why his chip is on the fritz initially in Rebels. Why he's still a bit like
a clone in the trailer with a purple helmet, and I was wondering who that was, because I know Mace Windu's squad now in canon has that color, so maybe it's just a random grunt, or it's a new clone we haven't been introduced to yet, or we're just all blanking and we don't know.
I mean, it could be Fordo for all we know, and that would make my day. I would love Fordo to show up in this. That would be the hell of a mic drop move from Brad Brown, Jennifer Corbett.
But what was your question, Connor?
What's the name of the season 2 episode where it features Cody and Crosshair?
Oh, the solitary clone.
Okay, cool.
You're like, all right.
I couldn't remember.
AKA one of the best episodes. It's so good. It's so good. But yeah, we know that this is going to be a crazy season. The tagline of one last fight is great, and that poster they dropped of just Hunter's helmet looks great.
Goes hard.
It looks great. So we will be here. Season starts. February 21st. 2024. We'll be here. We'll be doing the same thing we did last season, where we'll be having our weekly recaps, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they give the entire season like its own time and don't double it up with the Acolyte, because the final season of the show deserves its own dedicated time period to just air and have the entirety of the conversation surrounding it. And I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the way this season, this show is gonna end. Is all I'm gonna say. I'm very excited, and
I'm honestly a little more hyped for it than Acolyte, if I'm being totally honest, because I've just a tiny bit. Is like
that's tough. I think we'll talk about this later, because we also need to, after we do our list, we'll talk about what you all thought was the best story of last year and what we're looking forward to the most going into 2024. So overall thoughts, Ventress, confused, but very excited. And the rest of it looks great. I'm very excited. And I think the rest of us all are too, that it was, like I said, there's nothing better to me with Star Wars than great animated Star Wars. I think is the best kind of Star Wars. And hopefully this will be no different. Just no more Sid. We're done. No more.
Yeah.
We're done.
No more.
No more. But I think now we can move into our talks of our favorite stories of 2023. Now, last year when we did this, I think it's safe to say the three of us consumed way more Star Wars last year than we did this year. I had a hefty list myself of just honorable mentions. I was reading a lot more last year. I think it was because it was the first year of the pod. I was just super invested and I wanted to consume as much as I could. And then this year, it was just brain rot. It was like every time I tried to read a book, it was like, no, you can't do this. It's just, so I have a whole section of my list that is just dedicated to it probably would have made the list, but I didn't get around to reading it because my list last year was very heavy on books and comics. I think 3 of my 5 entries were some form of a book or a comic. This year, it's only 1, and that is a last-minute edition, as we will talk about. But Donovan, how about you start us off? If you want to talk about, if you have any honorable mentions, you can talk about those. But if not, you can just start right off with your number 5, and we can get this going.
Well, I have a couple of honorable mentions that I'm going to drop. First is Phase 2 of the High Republic. I'm just going to do that as a collective because I've read a couple of stories from that, but nothing from 2023 to involve putting it on the list. I've been trying to, but I've definitely kind of fallen behind with it. But I really appreciate the world building that has been done with that era. It was quite a bold move after the cliffhanger that the Fallen Star left everyone with to jump back 150 years, remove us completely from most of the cast members, say for like a few people like, Porter Ringel, Yoda, etc., and have like this new vibe and different kind of stories. But I just really appreciate the kind of world building they've done with stuff like Jeddah and Dolna and the forever war between Aram and Erano. I'm currently reading Quest for the Hidden City, which is actually really fun. George Mann has like done a really cool kind of like story here. Yeah, with the Kataku, they're just really interesting aliens. And Salandra show, badass with the shield. Gotta shout her out. But yeah, Phase 2 overall just warrants a mention for me. And my other honorable mention is Visions Season 2, because again, I haven't watched all of Visions Season 2, but the episodes I have watched, the episodes I have watched are excellent.
I watched 4 episodes with a buddy of mine, and I'm like, these aren't bad. I'll finish it. Never did.
Same, Connor. Yeah, like you get the really strong opener with Sith, which is just gorgeous to look at. So atmospheric, great. And then you get Screecher's Reach, which is this like brilliantly, like genuinely scary and like has a devastating ending done by the team that did Wolfwalkers, which is just, and it's just again a beautiful story to look at. And there's also the Aardman episode as well, which we were all very excited for.
Yeah,
and I love that each of these episodes they all feel authentically like they come from the company that made them. They all feel like something that this company would have made. It doesn't feel like a work for hire thing. It's both a project, like say an Aardman project and a Star Wars project. They both have the same vibe. And I've also got to mention the voice cast for the Aardman one, because you've got Charitha Chandra, I believe her name is, from Bridgerton. I'm probably getting her name wrong, but I will correct that later on. Playing the lead role opposite remember her name now, typical. But you just got a really eclectic cast of characters for the Aardman special, and it's just really fun. And Dennis Lawson, just great.
Oh yeah, I forgot that he was back in this one, and the role they had him in was great.
Just so like, outsized, yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm Wedge Antilles. I
Wedge Antilles. Like it's not even I was thinking he'd go English because his accent kind of goes a little bit like transatlantic in Return of the Jedi, but it was more kind of like how he did it in A New Hope and Empire, where it's a lot more like this. This is how I
Yeah.
talk. That's
Maxine Peake, I believe, is the name
Maxine
of the
Peake.
mother.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, because like she normally does a lot of serious dramas over here. I'm sure she's obviously she's done comedies as well, but she's so become known to me recently for like doing serious dramas that it's just so bewildering to see her in like Star Wars and in a comedy role, like playing a northerner, like northerner Twi'lek. That's just, it's so delightfully like bonkers for Star Wars, and I just love I love that whole special. It's brilliant.
All right. Yeah, no, it was really fun. And Visions is just such a treat. I just love what it does for the franchise, getting to tell these super unique, super out of this world stories that they don't need to worry about any like restrictions or this isn't canon or stuff like that. So they can just do what they want. But to start us off with your number 5, what is your number 5 story of the year?
Okay, so my number 5 is The Mandalorian season 3. I had to kind of include. Yeah, I kind of figured it wouldn't. It almost didn't make my list because as much as I've enjoyed it, I do admit it. There was a bit of a nosedive in terms of just the overall story for me. The individual episodes are actually quite good. I just felt like overall the story is perhaps a little too truncated for like the structure of a conventional Mando season. I felt like a kind of conflict of interest in what they were trying to do. They wanted to do the kind of like thing of like, oh, let's have standalone adventures, like Mando goes to a place, does a quest, but we also want the more serialized stuff. And here's a bunch of stuff from Rangers of the New Republic that we wanted to do before our lead actress went all like turfy and yeah, and like
what
weirdly like
you mean like a Con Orlando headliner, name redacted? Crazy that you say that.
Yeah, like won't yeah, no more about that.
Yeah,
but basically, yeah. So I will say that it warrants it does still warrant an inclusion on my list, because as much as I have like mixed feelings about it overall, again it's like with Book of Boba Fett, when it hits, it really does hit, and I love the for instance the episode 2 Minds of Mandalore episode, which is just like this really atmospheric, creepy, offbeat episode, and the way the series elevates Bo-Katan to like co-lead status, and Katie Sackhoff is more than up to the challenge of like equaling Pedro Pascal, Brandon, and Lateef. The
all the critiques about this season, people throwing Bo-Katan's increased role as one of them, that's just dead wrong.
It's literally the wrong target. Oh yeah, let's pick on the woman. Like that's the thing that's wrong with the season. Story.
I guess, but also, you can still have Bo in there. And like, yeah, there are some things I would have done differently, which is why I don't have it on my list, spoiler. But it's just, yeah, I wouldn't throw the blame on Bo-Katan or Katie Sackhoff at all for some of the things that the season kind of missed with. But do you have anything else for
I mean, other than we got loads of cool M1 action, and I have to mention Keller and Beck. Like the fact that they brought Ahmed Best back and gave him such an awesome role as the one who saved Grogu. I'm so happy for him. So happy for him after all that he went through. The kind of horrible behavior that is sadly still prevalent in a lot of people who claim to be Star Wars fans today. It's lovely to see Lucasfilm give him such an awesome role to play, and I'm just so excited to see him going forward. And I will gladly see more Jar Jar as well, because I've always loved Jar Jar. For the record, we're all Jar Jar lovers here on the pod. For sure.
Oh, yeah. Go back and listen to our Bombad Jedi episode. We were oh, this is awesome.
It's Bombad Jedi slaps. What can I say?
I remember like, oh, I'm going to hate this. I watched them like, this is really fun. Like, I was big, like, awesome. Stick up my ass moment there. I can go next. So I have 2 actual honorable mentions. And then, like I said, I have my special mention would have made it if I got around to reading them or finishing them. So my one honorable mention is like The Mandalorian season 3. Echoing what you said, I think they are. Is there an echo in here? Yes.
Yes.
I'm echo. But I think it's
still a great
it's a
joke.
case of I enjoyed almost all of the individual episodes. I just thought the overall story was lacking. That's just my personal opinion. I think it was the weakest of the live action Disney Plus seasons so far. I do want to shout out The Convert, which was the Conor Chikiti episode, the Foundling, which was, like we said, the Keller and Beck episode, which was, if this was just pure Star Wars moments of the year, would 100% be in the top 5 or like the very upper half of the list. And The Spies, which was the penultimate episode, which brought Gideon back, and I thought it was really awesome, like them going back to Mandalore again and meeting those different Mandalorian sects. Those were my 3 favorites of the season. There were some good moments. I'm not huge on what they did with Gideon at the end, and I feel like it's so weird that the season to me ended like it could easily be the end of the show, but it's like, well, you can't end it there because there's so much left to do. It's like the way that they wrote it, and now we obviously know we're getting the Mando and Grogu movie coming. Production's entering later this year, so probably 2026.
And season 4 as well, apparently.
And season 4. So that'll be interesting to see what they do, if the film was always going to be a film, or if the film, it was the original season 4, and now season 4 is whatever this new thing is going to be. Either way, I enjoyed a lot of it, didn't like a lot of it, so that's why I'm going to put it in the honorable mention, just because I enjoyed all the episodes for the most part. It gave us Space Jack Black, and there was just some truly killer episodes in here. Kind of like last year, how I didn't have Book of Boba Fett in my list, but Tribes of Tatooine and Return of the Mandalorian were both absolutely fucking fantastic, so I needed to mention it in some way. My other real honorable mention is Jedi Battle Scars. Despite the running gag that I'm never going to finish this goddamn book because I still haven't, what I've read of it, I really, really like. I like the way Sam Maggs writes these characters. I really love how she writes Marin. It does that weird thing where it's adapting a book and they bring in stuff, adapting a game, and they bring in things from the game that like wouldn't really make sense in other canon, like, oh, we found these random jackets, or Grease's plants, like the collectathon aspects of the game that really don't mesh well, I think, in like live action or animated storytelling, when they're just like adapting like very video gamey portions of a game and putting it into a different medium. But I thought she made it work, and I liked the new character she introduced. I thought it was a nice bridge between Fallen Order and Survivor. I'm just really bad with reading this year, or else it would have been in there. But then my mentions to stories that would have been on here, more than likely, if I got to them, were Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade, because Delilah Dawson does not miss, and the story sounds right up my alley. I've heard nothing but great things about this book. And Eye of Darkness. If I wasn't a phase behind with the High Republic, it would 100% be on here, but I am so goddamn behind, except for one thing, spoiler alert, or foreshadowing, I should say, that it misses out here, but I am so excited to dive into phase 3 once I'm caught up and get to meet these characters again. But my number 5, as Don briefly brought up, is Visions Volume 2. I thought it was going to be higher, if I'm being completely honest, but then certain things happened in the last couple days that it pushed it back a little bit. I thought this was, again, it feels like it didn't have, like, it had its moment for the first, like, 3 days it was out, and then I saw no one talking about it for the rest of the year. And it's a shame, because there's some truly great stories in here. My 3 favorites that I want to shout out, actually 4 favorites I want to shout out, are Journey to the Dark Head, which was the Studio Mir short who did Legend of Korra. I also really loved Sith and Screecher's Reach, like we mentioned earlier. Screecher's Reach, like a true horror story in Star Wars with a just horrifying and tragic ending. Sith, I think, is maybe the most visually unique and beautiful, like animation-wise, that we've ever seen in the franchise. And then I want to bring up Ao's Song, which was the last short of the season, which I thought was just straight up beautiful. All of these have different things that they bring to the table, just like with Volume 1. I'm still like, I don't know which volume I like more, but the fact that Season 2 had more than just the anime medium to work with, and it had these different studios from across the globe. And we really got to see Star Wars, different cultures take on the Star Wars stories while all still feeling like Star Wars. So we could have an Indian folklore themed short like the Bandits of Golak, but it still feels like Star Wars. You can have the Spy Dancer, which is very, very French in its not only visuals but just the way the movement and how it feels like a painting, but it still feels like Star Wars. Like all these different things that really worked for me. And then you could have an Aardman short, like Don mentioned, and it still felt like Star Wars. Like it was the goofy comedic side of Star Wars. But that's why I have it on my list, is because I think there's something for everyone in the season, and there's 3 or 4 genuinely fantastic stories in here that I wanted to highlight. So I wanted to put it higher, but it ended up in my number 5 slot. So that's how I start things off. Connor, go right ahead.
So honorable mention, I'd probably go with Solitary Clone because it's a good episode.
Yeah.
For number 5, I would go with Battle Scars. It was cool. I really like seeing like how Sam Maggs wrote some of the game elements into it. Like quite literally, I think she described the combat.
Yeah.
In, like the second chapter, like perfectly.
I had the same thought. Yeah, and you're spot on.
Another thing was her including like stims and stuff. I was like, are they going to actually use it?
That's the thing too. That's
And
the other
she
thing
did.
I really loved hearing was that like the stims were actually used for what we thought they were used for. Because like I remember talking with Alden and like maybe someone else, and we were just like, yeah, I thought the stims were just like kind of just like steroids almost, where it's like you put one in and it like kind of helps you, but not really. But it's like no, the stims are actually what they do in game. Like what they do in game is actually what they're used for, which I think is super cool. And just sort of, the bridge between Fallen Order and Survivor being kind of bridged this way is cool. The character, sort of seeing Cal be like, let's take the fight to the Empire. And Seer's like, fuck that. I want to archive shit.
Yeah.
And just those two philosophies kind of clashing, and Marin being horny for Fred.
Yeah, this book is very horny, by the way.
It's the horniest Star Wars book ever. Like hornier than all of the High Republic phase
I was
1.
even taken aback when I was reading. I'm like, this is a Star Wars book. Like, damn, they like Sam Maggs pulling no punches, which I very much appreciate. But
love Sam Maggs for that.
Yeah,
it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Book. I want to finish it very soon, but I didn't have enough time to get to it before we got to making this episode. So, Don, your number 4.
My number 4 is also Battle Scars.
There we go. It's so horny.
It's like it's so horny, like that's like for the Republic review of Battle Scars, it's so horny.
Clone Wars 03, it's so cool. Battle Scars, it's so this is the great content you look forward to on this podcast.
We keep it all nice and simple just for you guys because we care about you people. But I like you both said, I loved the way Sam Maggs wrote the cast. She really got the disparate personalities of the Ghost crew. I love the way that she wrote Cal. Cal just felt like he'd stepped right out of the games. Seer's whole growing kind of desire to like cultivate a new Jedi Order and preserve what remained of it rather than just fighting the Empire. That was all really interesting. My favorite character who she took on though was definitely Marin. I loved the way Sam just drew on Marin's backstory, and we really felt Marin just kind of wrestle with the pain and the anger of losing her whole people and just trying to figure out how to like keep the fire that she used to have on Dathomir without it consuming her. And like you said, her whole burgeoning relationship with the defecting Imperial stormtrooper who joins the team for the book was just really cool. It was just really well done, and it delves into some really emotionally mature stuff as we see later on, and I really appreciate the way both of those characters were written and how they articulated their feelings. It was really impressive. It felt and I say this as a compliment, it almost felt like you could almost take the two main missions in the book and kind of look at it as a DLC mission for the game that was basically taken and
That would be
elevated.
cool.
Yeah.
It would be
I would
cool.
like playing
It
that.
really felt like, to me, which is why I really have enjoyed most of what I've read so far, is it felt like that bit of Marin's story that I wish we got after she joined the group in Fallen Order. Because that was
Yes.
always my one complaint I had with the game, was she was my favorite character out of all the main cast. But I felt like once she joined the Manus crew, she was just kind of sitting in the cockpit for the rest of the game and didn't really do anything else. I was glad that she got to be like almost the main character, if not the main character of this book. And it's just very much a great Marin story, which I loved. My one question for you, just because I haven't really gotten to much of it yet, is what were your thoughts on how the Fifth Brother and the Inquisitors were handled in this book?
Oh, I thought he was really good in it. He's a jackass, and I love him for that.
Okay. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Go.
So, okay. So, straight up. Sorry, I was talking to Amy. Straight up. For context, my entire headspace with Cal and the Inquisitors in the Fallen Order game, which is very much colored by the fact that I played Fallen Order 29 times, I want to say. It's a lot. I've played it a lot. I lost my train of thought. Wow. Okay, because of the fact I've played it so much, and have kicked the Ninth Sister's ass and the Second Sister's ass so easily, but also like I was able to detach myself from that, and really see like the big picture of it. I was under the impression that like, oh, he wiped the floor with these guys. Like the Fifth Brother, from what we've seen, it's gonna be a fucking cakewalk for him. Like I was truly like, he's gonna be a cakewalk for Cal Kestis. The Fifth Brother's gonna be nothing. So when we get to the fight and he's actually having a lot of trouble with the Fifth Brother, I was like, damn, I did not expect this. But like Sam Mag's going into the whole thing of like, Cal's A, really fucking tired from all this, and B, he's just kind of just doesn't want to just fight these guys anymore. I'm like, fair? Yeah. No, I get that.
And
that's fair.
You see that in the beginning of Survivor, where he's just like,
Oh yeah,
God damn it, like this again.
Yeah, talking of which, there is some killer foreshadowing for Survivor, because like I had the advantage of reading this after playing through Survivor and the full story, and like just some of the way this foreshadows like certain things happening in the story. There are like lines in this that made me just go, that just hit me differently, and I was just like, damn. Oh, now that I know where that's going, that's gut wrenching.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
It's a journey, Andrew.
Oh, okay. So for my number 4, this is what I've been hitting at. So I was like, I had my list ready. Mando season 3 was originally my number 5. I was like, I got the list ready. And then it was a very slow day at work. And I was like, okay, maybe I can get one of these comics that I've been wanting to read off my list. And I did. And I read all 4 issues. And it's a contender for one of my favorite Star Wars comics of all time.
Nice.
My number 4 is Shadows of Starlight. This rules.
Still need to finish it.
This
God damn it.
rules so hard. The first 2 issues, the fourth issue, which is told in Marky Unrose perspective, it's fine. It's good. It's not the best. It's like how for last year, I really, really loved the Obi-Wan miniseries, and I thought the last issue was just okay. It was kind of the same thing. Like, it was good, didn't blow me away. The third issue with Bell and Burry was great. As someone who is a phase behind, as someone who knows everything that happens in The Fallen Star but hasn't finished it yet, this series did such a great job at filling in the gaps, telling that 1 year gap between phase 1 and when phase 3 begins. The first issue, which focuses on Yoda and a character that shows up from phase 2, is one of the best reveals. I didn't know who the character was, but I read about it. I watched Alex Damon's episode on this character. The last shot, or the last panel in issue 1, bone chilling. And then they don't follow it up. I think he's in Eye of Darkness, but they don't follow up in the issue. And then issue 2 with Elzar and Avar, where Avar is going undercover, infiltrating the Nile as they're in I'm forgetting the damn name of it, but where they block off the hyperspace travel, and they kind of I'm forgetting Stormwall. There we go. Which, by the way, great Avar costume there, the gray robes and everything. And you have Elzar just so desperate to try to communicate with Avar and try to reach back out to her because they have no way of communicating. And as he's working with the droid that he gave Stellan in Fallen Star, and you get to see him just truly break down a couple times, it's so damn good. And it's just someone who, like, I loved phase 1 so much, but I just didn't get around to finishing it just because I have such brain rot right now with reading and no attention span whatsoever at this moment, that I'm like, oh man, I miss these characters. And then it reminded me immediately, I'm like, yeah, no, this phase rules. Like this era of characters is amazing. They handled the way the aftermath of Starlight Beacon falling so well. And they even explain like little things just so seamlessly. Like, we get the explanation of why the lightsabers aren't as flashy in the prequels is because of the Guardian protocols. We get
the Guardian protocols.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so intrigued to learn about those.
Go into I love that, sincerely.
Yeah.
Like, what a way to really just sort of macro start to explain, like, here's kind of why the Jedi of the High Republic don't look like this by the time of Phantom
It's
Menace.
like, hey, we're under attack. We need to infiltrate these. We need to make battle sabers because we know they're going to get damaged and we're going to need to replace them. So we're going to make them less flashy. Also, like 3 panels immediately, like, that's all you need to do to explain things, and they did it in a perfect way.
That's
and
great.
Also, the only reason I knew of Aslan Rel was because I was talking with Amy, and I'm like, what the hell happens in Path of Vengeance? Or it was it Path of... Yeah, it might have been Path of Vengeance or one of the later Phase 2 books.
I think from the research I did, I think he's in the 2 YA books. So I think he's in Deceit and Vengeance.
He is in Path of Deceit.
Okay,
I remember him in Path of Deceit.
Because I
knew he was going to be important from that. Yeah,
I remember him in Path of Deceit, but I didn't read. I haven't finished Phase 2. I don't know if I'm going to finish Phase 2, truthfully. But I was just like, Amy, what happens? And she's like, I'll never forget it.
Know.
Like, she straight up just told me like all this stuff about Aslan Rel as I play Lego Star Wars. Did I remember most of it? Hell no. Did I remember that Aslan Rel got fucked up? Yes.
Yeah. And then you have such a great story of him working with Yoda, even though he's been corrupted by the dark side, but they still think they can work together. And then that reveal at the end, it's like, holy shit, this is awesome. And just the way that they like show different Jedi's reaction to the Guardian protocols and to being recalled to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. And like, oh, we want to go out and we want to fight the Nile. And we see some people going against it. We see some people staying there. It's so interesting there. We got 2 really good and unique Bel Zettifar looks in issue 3, which I agree.
Nice.
Very nice. And then issue 4 just straight up had Gira and Markion like all over each other. So it's like we love horny in Star Wars.
Oh,
It's
that
great.
was all over my timeline, and I
Yeah.
was like, damn.
I saw that. I was
This-
like, oh, okay.
this
And we immediately get introduced to another shitty fucking general character in issue 4 too.
Wait,
it's
is
like
it General V's Vice?
I think that's his name. Is he
Okay,
an
yeah.
existing character?
Yeah, he was from Phase 2. That's all I remember.
All right. Well, so
Is that the
so there's a-
Ithorian?
I don't fucking
No,
know.
no, it's not there's an
He's
Ithorian
like
that
the
shows
green
up.
guy.
So that's another thing is there's a lot where they connect back to phase 2, which you didn't think they were gonna do
I'm
in phase 3.
same.
But there's
Got me looking up
at
shit.
least, yeah,
I'm
there's
like,
at least 3
fuck?
characters that show up. You get more into the nameless. It's like, oh, I'm so excited. So I think it's first of all, Charles Soule, unparalleled when it comes to writing Star Wars comics. And I think just a way to perfectly like reintroduce you to these characters and get you into like what phase 3 is going to be like in that gap between the fall of Starlight Beacon and the beginning of phase 3 works tremendously. And this isn't me saying that as someone, like I said, phase behind. All of wave 3 of phase 1 I've only read half of, if that, and this knocked it out of the park for me. It's up there with Trail of Shadows for my favorite comic, at least of the THR era.
Nice.
Maybe just of the new canon. It's awesome. Definitely recommend you check it out. Like I said, I was able to read it all within like 2 hours. It was great. So that's what I gotta say. So Connor, you're number 4. Where are we going?
I gotta go with Shadow Warrior from Ahsoka. Because the flashback. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Flashbacks were cool. They didn't look the greatest, but they were cool. It was really just seeing what lessons that Anakin imparted on it. You know what? Okay, you know what? I'm not even gonna sugarcoat half this crap. The main reason this episode is one of my favorites is because I got one of the most niche, like, once I've always wanted to see in Star Wars, and that is pre-suit Anakin Skywalker with a red lightsaber. And let me tell you, that shit did not disappoint.
It's a nice itch that got scratched for sure. Yeah, visually, it's just Hayden Christensen just killed it, man. He was brilliant.
And it's just
Shadow
like
the
the
Hedgehog.
lesson, like just the lesson that. Okay,
Where's
I can't
that
even remember.
damn fourth Chaos Emerald.
I can't even remember what the lesson was. That
How
Anakin
could you
was
do
trying
this?
to impart on Ahsoka, but like I know it was fucking cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Andrew, bring
Yeah,
the
that's all I
counter back.
got.
It's starting again.
That's all I got. It's a cool episode.
It's
So,
great.
Yeah.
I love
I'm
it.
done.
Like you said, some of the flashbacks didn't look the best, but it's still like an awesome episode. Hayden in Clone Wars armor. Hell yeah. That's all you got. And then the duel in the World Between Worlds. It's freaking awesome. And Hayden, like I said in our review our episode where we reviewed the entire season, which by the way, season 2 confirmed since the last time we were on the pod. So there we go. I'm excited. But as I said there, I think it's the best Hayden's ever been in anything was that episode. So yeah, it's great. Donovan, you're number 3 for the year 2023.
So my number 3 is The Bad Batch season 2. I had a lot of fun covering this series last year on the pod. Like each episode, it went through like some highs and lows. We had a little bit of stagnation in the first half where it really kind of felt like the gang were doing somewhat uneventful odd jobs for Sid, and there was the occasional flourish of, oh look, his Gunji from the Youngling arc, which is a really, really lovely episode, really cool going to Kashyyyk. And then you get to the halfway point, and it does a thing that I'm kind of like, I got this from a Doctor Who reviewer, so I'm going to kind of like, it follows a pattern of once you get to the halfway point, this noted halfway point with Palpatine and the whole clone conspiracy narrative. Once you get to that point, there is a noticeable shift, and the stories start getting stronger and stronger. You get that brilliant follow-up episode that was brave enough to, after the very eventful mid-season episodes, like to have this contained episode in a mine where Echo and Omega, sorry, not Echo had gone by that point, Tech and Omega bond, and you get this really lovely bit of writing that basically canonizes Tech's neurodiversity, which myself and Andrew really appreciated.
I forgot about that episode. Shit,
it's so good. There are a lot of bangers in that season. To be fair, like the solitary clone, as you said, is an early highlight as well. You've got this.
Who
this
hates
episode
Faster here? Is it you, Andrew? I forgot.
That's me.
Oh yeah,
and I love Faster. I'm just saying, I still want to Riot Racer game. Come on, like
I've warmed up to it a little bit, but
we need a Riot Racer game.
Yeah,
I play that. We could live stream that if they did it.
Yeah, I think my hatred of that episode is more Sid than anything. It's like, why do we keep going back? But
what are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing here? Why we gotta keep going back to this damn listen?
We have moved past the need for Sid.
Yeah.
Sid was like, I'm glad that the series did have the boldness to just have her betray the batch and stick with it. Like, there's no like Lando thing of her like actually double crossing the Empire and helping them out. No, she just shamefully accepts her like tiny little stack of credits and weasels off. That's it. But yeah, as Conor said, the solitary clone's an early highlight. You've got an episode that is like structured like an old-fashioned Clone Wars episode. You have the characters, the clones, going on this bombastic adventure, fighting off droids,
and then there's like,
and
something's a little off the whole time,
and then you get the twist of like, yeah, actually no, this isn't the same. And there's this kind of, it continues the theme that the show has done since it started of characters trying to find purpose now that the war is over as they know it. Now that everything has shifted, you have all these different characters trying to find purpose, trying to like figure out how they fit into a galaxy that is just fundamentally changed and broken almost beyond repair at that point, and it's really interesting that you have a series that can change bad guys, main villains halfway through, and yet they still manage to find a villain that was fantastic. Oh, gotta shout out Rampart, who is voiced by I can't remember the voice actor's name, I'm blanking sadly, but who is also in Jedi Survivor and who killed it on both fronts, playing a slimy Imperial and also playing Boda Kuna in Jedi Survivor. Just
same guy.
It's the same dude who also has appeared on Critical Role. I will say, yeah, he's a cool dude.
I like how we were like, fuck Rampart, and then Rampart got replaced.
Yeah, the Rampart got fucked.
And now we're like, oh man, I miss Rampart because Hemlock fucking sucks.
Jennifer and Brad heard us and were like, be careful what you wish for. Yeah, we're going to give you this like really creepy Imperial Doctor who, is so much of a sick fuck that he develops an immunity to his own toxin. Like that's alone is a creepy detail, but the fact that he takes such a sadistic pleasure in torturing the clones is just it's just another level of creepy. And we also get like brilliant episodes with Crosshair, like the Solitary Clone, and then the Outpost, I believe, which is sadly I couldn't cover either of them for reasons, but like
I feel like Conor was only on 3 episodes that whole season. I think it was Faster and the 2 Crosshair episodes were the only ones he was on.
Yeah,
but it's perfect.
I mean, you turned up for bangers, Conor. I'll say that.
Bangers
but like
all throughout.
The Outpost is such a brutal episode. As you said, I think it gives us the most hateable Imperial yet with that lieutenant, and just the ringer that Crosshair gets put through, and just all of the kind of like interesting drama with him and the clone he meets. It's just it takes its time and really allows the characters to breathe and develop. And by the end of the season, you really feel like you have been through the ringer with these characters. Like, and it made me really care about them in a way that the first season didn't quite manage. But by the end of this season, I really had I felt the batch had grown beyond these stereotypes. I felt like they had evolved quite a lot. I mean, and as we said, like when we covered it previously, like, for Tech to go from like being basically an exposition bot for like a much of season 1 to then in season 2 becoming essentially the heart and soul of the season, growing more and more and learning to kind of express himself more. and to just have all of that built up, and then just for the series finale to very effectively, but so brutally rip him away from us in that just very like devastatingly sad
When have we ever
finale.
followed orders?
Like, I have not felt that emotionally devastated from a Star Wars episode in
Oh, it
quite
killed
some
me.
time. Like, well, I mean, in terms of animated Star Wars episodes, I obviously bawled my eyes out at Kenobi Chapter 6 and the Mando Season 2 finale, but animated Star Wars does hit differently. Like,
That was
it's been a while.
when it comes
Yeah,
to
no,
bawling
go
my
for
eyes
it.
out in a moment. We'll get to that for me.
Okay,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, no, so much great stuff here, and like you said, it has been a while since we've got a good old-fashioned Star Wars animated death where they just rip our hearts out, and that's what we got in the Bad Batch season 2. For me, my number 3, well, this is where it ended up. So last night, before we started recording, I started playing Jedi Survivor. And it's already at my number 3 spot. I'm only 4 hours into the game, so we're putting an asterisk here. It's at number 3 because I haven't finished the story yet. This is like what I'm projecting it. It's probably going to end up higher. But as I'm saying, like only 4 hours in, I'm already so blown away with it that it's got to be very high on the list.
My question to you, Andrew,
Yes.
is this.
Yes.
Where you're at right now, what do you think happened?
Well, here's the thing: is I genuinely have no idea where it's going. Because, like,
Okay.
so where I'm at, full context. I just met back up with Grease. That's where I'm at. Cal took his little nappy nap, woke back up. He's about to go in the tunnel. So I think some shit's about to go down. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
But everything
Good
in that
context.
first little part is so fantastic. The opening mission, because I thought when we were on Coruscant, I'm like, oh, it's just going to be an opening. It's just going to be like, we're on Braca. It's mainly just a cutscene. We're going to get a little bit of an introduction, but we're off the planet in like 20 minutes. But then you spend the first like 2.5 hours of that game on Coruscant. It looks fantastic. You get the little bait and switch where you think the senator, that's the Utapau senator, you think he was in the first trailers, like, is he going to be the big villain? And then spoiler alert, he's not. He's not. But they do a very anime-esque thing where they introduce you to this whole new group of characters. They get you to like them, and they fucking kill them all. And I got so mad. I was like, the twins, awesome. The one girl whose name I'm forgetting, Gabs, awesome. Yep. Bravo, awesome. And then they kill him as they're escaping. And I'm like, I don't like you. And then I know it's only going to get worse from what I got heard.
Spoiled on the Ninth Sister, FYI. I'm just going to say that right now. But I will say this right now. I'm not surprised. Like you guys know, like I've said, I thought she wasn't dead.
I'm gonna echo something that
I didn't think she was
Alex
dead, but I was still shocked when she showed up. And like I mentioned before you say your piece down, I was still shocked. Like Cal was just so like, God damn it, gotta do this again. And he just takes her out. And that was just a great like bow on top of this. And then when we got to Kobo, just seeing this wide, expansive world, and I can already tell it's good. There's going to be so much great stuff here, and that scene with Grease and Cal reuniting was great. Especially, there are two things I really want to highlight of how this game used portions of Fallen Order's plot and also its like cutscenes in a masterful storytelling way. The opening recap, where they're looking through the holocron and you see the entire plot of Fallen Order. I messaged Conor, I'm like, this is already on my list just for that opening thing alone. It is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And then when BD is playing the holovids of all their little moments on the ship, and you get, it needs a little bit more salt. I'm like, that motherfucker puts way too much salt on his food. What are you talking about? They got me. I'm like, man, I love these characters way more than I thought I actually did. and I am just so excited.
The
It's
two
gonna-
greatest
yeah.
recaps ever of anything Star Wars is that and the prequel recap before Kenobi.
It's so hype.
Bar none. Those are
Yeah.
the two greatest.
But
To me.
again, like I know this is going to be,
And I love
so
that you can
much
watch
higher.
both separately.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that
You
so
watch so
much.
separately, and it just gave you like the perfect reminder of it's been a couple of years. Let's go back down the Fallen Order rabbit hole here. But then again, it's not the story, but like I love the little extra things you can do with customizing Cal in this one. You give him a fucking fuckboy mohawk.
No,
It's great.
I can't do it.
I can't. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it either.
No,
but
I can't.
There are just certain things I'm gonna try to beat it as fast as I can. That's why I'm playing it on story mode. And if I want to do a more challenging thing, I'll go back and I'll play it on one of the higher difficulties because it took me I was so bad at the combat in Fallen Order. I had to decrease the difficulty twice because I started on night and I was like, I'm awful at this. And then I went down to Padawan and then I was like, I'm decent, but Trilla was giving me such a hard time. So I went to story mode and then I finished the game. This time, I'm just going to do it all on story. I'm going to go back and do the rest if I want to have a more challenging run. But I just want to get through the story because I've heard it, I've heard it's one of the best of all time, and I will
say this: gameplay wise,
is it much better?
There is. It's 100% better.
Brilliant.
There is New Game Plus, and I mean when I say New Game Plus, I mean like basically a true New Game Plus.
Oh, I love the BD's just like straight up talking to me through my PS5 controller.
And what I mean by that is there is a lot, and I mean a lot of stuff that you can collect, most of which will be a fucking pain in the ass. But if you collect all of it and you do New Game Plus, you never have to do it again. It's all in your inventory. All the skill points you collected, all the collectibles you collected, it's all in your inventory. So that's all I'm saying. There's a lot really, really, really frustrated shit that you can collect, but you do it once and you never have to do it again unless you want to torture yourself and just do New Game minus again.
The great thing about this game is just the little improvements they made to the stuff in Fallen Order. Like even just simple stuff like climbing stuff is way less tedious this time around. It's smoother, it's easier. But I love the fact that pretty much all the powers that you end Fallen Order with the Force, you have to begin, or at least you have by the end of the first mission.
Oh yeah,
which is awesome. And I'm glad that they didn't like.
I'm so happy they did that.
Can't use the Force push anymore.
There's because there's all these dumb people that are like, oh, he'll be a memory wipe, and I'm like, you're fucking stupid. Like you're just absolutely just brain dead, fucking stupid if you unironically believe that. Now, if there's anyone watching this that thinks that, fucking stupid.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm mainly just projecting. I'm mainly just projecting here, like I said. But if just my first session alone was anything to say, I'm gonna love this freaking game. I already do. That's why I have it 3 on my list. But yeah, no, it'll probably get higher. It's just you'll have to.
It'll get higher, all right.
I'm just not done with it yet. So this is the tentative number 3 is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. As for you, sir, what are we finishing off this round with?
So I know this technically didn't come out in 2023, but I'm still including it anyway because fuck it. The Yoda comic, the 10-issue Yoda comic.
It finished this year. That counts. That counts.
Yeah, that counts.
Like half of it was this year. That was one of the ones where I was gonna read it over Christmas break and I just didn't get around to it. But I heard
on
great
a whim,
things.
I decided to read it at work, and I'm like, damn, this is good. And then issue 10 happened, and I was like, fuck yeah. Because, like, basically, okay, So, okay, Andrew, do you care about
No.
spoilers?
I
Okay.
don't.
He goes into the dark side cave,
Oh shit!
Oh, that's going to be
which,
awesome.
like, honestly, it takes it there. That line of only what you take with you, it hits harder now, man. Because like
It's those little things.
Yoda goes in, and he just encounters the ghosts of his past. Dooku. You know what? Now let me go through my notes. I don't want to gaslight myself into thinking like, oh, this is what they did, and this is not what they did. Okay, let's see. Yoda comic issue 10. He sees young Anakin, Qui-Gon, Count Dooku, and Jedi Master Keith Trennis.
Oh,
Did Cavan Scott write that issue?
Yes.
He's so wrong
Yes,
for
he
that.
did. Yes,
God
he
damn
did.
it.
Yeah, because Yoda, because I'm just remembering, Yoda wanted Obi-Wan. No, not Yoda wanted Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan wanted Yoda to go into it. And Yoda's like, this is a waste of time. And so it's something I've always wondered. And it ends like, right, basically kind of like right before Empire or like right in the beginning of
okay. I
Empire.
was going to say, when does that issue take place? Is that
Yeah,
like...
because he sends because Yoda then sends Obi-Wan off to Hoth to summon Luke. So like probably in the very beginning of Empire, like probably right when we see the Death Star, or not the Death Star, the Star Destroyer. So probably there, maybe a bit after. I don't know. It doesn't fucking matter. Time is irrelevant in Star Wars. But it answered one of my biggest questions. Not biggest, but it answered one of my most interesting questions of like, I'm sure Yoda went into the cave, but I always wondered, like, did he actually? Because it's like we never really had much, solid concrete proof that he did. So like, it's nice to see canonically that like he did go and he did see some shit.
Yeah, no, I'm hyped. You just described it. I'm like, I'm gonna try to read it soon, like as soon as I can, because it's been on my list for a while, and I heard nothing but great things. But I'm just reading that alone. I'm like, I need to read this right now. And I love that series like goes through Yoda's like entire life. Like we get High Republic stuff, we get prequel stuff, we get pre Phantom Menace stuff from what I'm aware, and then going off into the original trilogy. So yeah, I got to read it soon. I'm very hyped listening to that. Don, I think I have a good idea of what your top two are. I don't know the order, but I think I know what they are. But what is coming in at number 2?
Number 2 is Jedi Survivor. It was literally it's the same thing as last year. Literally, number 1 and 2 are like keep going back and forth. I think I kind of had to bump Survivor down just for some slight technical issues that I kind of had. There was a glitch in particular that prevented me from doing a set of side quests that I won't spoil for you, Andrew. But like you said, and I will keep this brief because, like, obviously, I want to preserve as much of the story as I can for you because it is a really good story. The level of scope of this game is magnificent. Just Kobo alone, the amount of stuff they invest in that world, the places you can go to, the enemies you fight there, and just the fact that there's a whole community there with Pyloon's Saloon and the various characters that you accrue and bring to that cantina is brilliant. Like I mentioned it before, like when we did our archives picks, the little droid that you can recruit that DJs at the saloon is absolutely fantastic, and I can't believe we haven't had a droid DJ in a cantina before. It's great. I'll echo what you both said. It continues the stories of the characters really well. It manages to pack in all of these disparate elements of Star Wars from, you know, the films, the books, comics, etc., and games, and it all ties it together in a very cohesive story, and it really pushes Cal and the other characters into territory that you didn't think they'd necessarily go to, and that's
I
fantastic.
definitely didn't think they would go to. I'm going to get into that when I talk about this game.
Yeah,
exactly. That's stuff I didn't predict at all.
I got to bring up before you continue is I also got introduced to Turgle last night, and I was the Danny DeVito. Oh my god, I get it. Like, I finally get it. What I love Turgle.
I love that he's voiced by Alpha from Power Rangers.
He's such a prick. Not really a prick, but like he will sell you out. He's such a backstabber.
I thought it was the real deal.
Damn it, honest. I love him. But there is another, Andrew, there is another random character that you will meet that I know for a fact that you are going to love.
I can't wait.
Meet them.
My lips are sealed, re-story spoilers, but
I think you know who I'm talking about, Don. I think I
do. I think I do. We will reconvene for this when Andrew has reached
at
that
a later
point,
date.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, Jedi Survivor, brilliant game, fantastic. Just couldn't be overall happier with it outside of some technical glitches. It really is just fantastic. One of the best games of 2023 for me. And I've played Baldur's Gate, so I know good games right now this year.
I can't wait to play that one too. My number 2.
Say goodbye to your spare time.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've got that, Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2, and Survivor to play. So I'm going to be busy. So my number 2, speaking of number 2, is The Bad Batch Season 2. It's so weird considering it, because if you go back and watch our reviews, you can see me at a point around the midway point of the season, like we were saying, getting genuinely frustrated with the narrative of the season. Like, we need to be moving on from Sid. We should have done this a season ago. And I was like, when are we getting away from this? But then when they finally start to put the pieces together, you get the Zillow Beast episode, and they're like, no, we gotta, this is some shit. Like, we gotta get away from Sid. And then you get, what I love about this season is you can have, because of the episode count, and we can have this discussion of why I think the 6 to 8 episode story structure for the live action shows is kind of failing these shows, is because we don't have enough time to tell these stories. Where if you had an episode like Pabu and say Ahsoka, people would have been like, what the fuck? You fucking filler. They're just randomly on this tropical paradise planet and random up like, but because Bad Batch had 16 episodes, you can do that. And you get a beautiful story about Tech warming up, and you get that relationship with Thee. You get to see Omega really just be a kid, and you get to see the Batch just save the day at the end of it. You can get episodes like that. You can get episodes like Faster, like we talked about, that are just fun watches. And then, even though there was an episode earlier in the season where Fee was introduced, where I was like, this fucking sucks. But then when they brought her back, I loved her character. And I love that she was more than just a Sid clone. She genuinely liked the Batch. She had this dynamic with Tech that really worked. You had the Gunji episode, which gave us... I have... and I forgot. I was like, you get like getting to see Gunji back, and the way they told the story. The 2-parter in the middle of the season where you get the assassin clone and you get Ryo Chuchi introduced or reintroduced after what felt like years of not being in Star Wars stories, and you get Palpatine just being the slimiest fucking bastard of all time.
William McDermott as well, just getting to come in.
We spent a season and a half building out the door, and boom, you get the most somehow worse in Hemlock, which is crazy. All the Tanta stuff was super intriguing to see it play out. And they had the great payoff of the season finale of they got away from Sid, but then that fucker stabbed him in the back.
What cost?
At what cost? We lost Tech. They get abandoned. Omega gets kidnapped. And then Hunter just goes full angry dad mode. Like we gotta find her at all costs. And I'm so excited. But the main highlight of this season for me was the 2 Crosshair episodes. Solitary Clone and The Outpost in particular, I think is a top 5 animated Star Wars episode of all time. It was my favorite Star Wars story. If we're just talking individual episodes, it was my favorite Star Wars story of the entire year. Like we said, building up that relation or that friendship that Crosshair and Mayday have in just the one episode of getting them lost in the storm, and then just getting to see that fucking asshole Lieutenant Nolan just let Mayday die right then and there, and you just immediately just see Crosshair's faith in the Empire just crack right then and there. And we get that moment we've been waiting 2 seasons for, guns him down, and then he's stuck on Tannis, and we don't know if we're ever going to get him back. But he's coming home, season 3. I need it. Like, again, there is, again, if you go back and watch those episodes, like I said, there were points where I was like, all right, we got to get going, guys. But as a bigger picture, once the whole season is wrapped up and you look back on it, I think it's reverse of Mando season 3, where I was like, I liked the episodes, but as a strong overall story, I think it falls flat. With this one, I'm like, there were some episodes I was not a fan of, but as an overall story, it worked so well. Where those episodes, you go back, and this is why I said earlier in our discussions, when we were talking about season 2 as it was airing, is this show, with what Brad Rao and Jennifer Corbett have managed to do, is even the most mundane, what we think are mundane filler episodes, end up being important down the line.
Yeah.
Like there was a weird Raxus Prime fillery episode in season 1 where I was like, I don't like this one. But then it ended up being more important because we see more separatist allies or affiliates in season 2. We see them kind of see their side of the story, and we get to see almost like the separatists are like the quote unquote good guys against the Empire now. We get to see more, I guess, humanization is the word I was looking for, more, where they're not just General Loathsome or George Takei's Nemoidian from Clone Wars season 1, where they're just the most comically evil villains of all time. We get to see more of like the actual humans and more complex characters in the Separatists, which I really enjoyed. And again, if you're going to watch,
some great characters though, like some guest voices, like we got Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters voicing Milegi in Faster. We also got I can't believe I'm on a run of forgetting people's names. The voice actor for Sonic, the hedgehog in the movies,
Roger Craig's Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz coming in as KO.
KO.
That was really cool.
Of course,
Yuri
Wanda Sykes
Lowenthal
as Fee.
Wanda Sykes.
Yuri Lowenthal plays the thief in the factory episode.
Who I should hate, but I kind of loved him because of the fact that he just
that he's Yuri Lowenthal.
Yeah, and the fact that he got caught straight away and literally just got intimidated into helping the batch by Rekko growling at him was just perfect. I loved it. The only other thing I'm going to add to this discussion is that Plan 99 was not a nice touch.
No, it's not. 99, eh? Nice
touch.
Not this time.
Rekko 99, nice touch.
Also, I'd like to remind everyone that everything that happened with Tech at the end of season 2, it's all Jared's fault. He came on at the beginning of the season and was like, yeah, I want this fucker to die. And then he died, and he was like, I hate that this happened. And I was like, this is your fault.
See what your actions have unleashed.
God. It's twisted by the Dark Jedi. Young Tech has... So yeah, number 2 for me, Bad Batch season 2. Cannot wait for season 3. one of the most cruel cliffhanger endings that Star Wars has provided us with in a very long time. But February's it's just around the corner, so I'm excited. Connor, as for you, I think we all know what your number one is, but your number two, what are we rocking with?
The Keith Trennis story from Tales of Light and Life. I don't remember the name of it, but I read it, and it was.
I can look it up.
And like because of the fact that it was the first Jedi Master Keith Trennis story we were getting prior to Phase 3, it holds a special place in my heart. And it's just, I don't really remember much other than just like Keith being super wise and super caring to these like children and these people of this village that she helps, and it's so good. It's so freaking good, man. That's all I really got. So,
have you read any of the Phase 3 comics yet? Because I've
read the first issue of the main comic, and that's it.
I believe Light in the Darkness is the name of the story.
Yep, that's it.
It's a very apt because I was like, which one did Kevin Scott write? I saw that, and I saw Keeve in the cast. So I'm like, there we go. I cannot wait. Tales of Light and Life is another one that's on my shelf. I cannot wait to read it. I'm just trying to figure out when in the timeline of me reading or catching up with THR is the right point to like read those stories. But I'm excited. I've heard nothing but great things there. But I'm very excited. And of course, Keith Trennis, Connor's girl, as we all know. So, of course, you got to show up. Last year, the THR Comics was his number one. So we see a pattern here. But Don, I think I've narrowed down what your number one is, unless something crazy's happened. What is your number one story of 2023?
Well, it was the Dark Droids story.
Oh,
the comics.
shit.
No, it's Ahsoka. Of course it's Ahsoka. It was, of course it was going to be Ahsoka. No, what can I say? I was very hyped for this show going in. This show had a lot to get me excited, and it delivered on a lot of things I wanted to see. You know, like we got a really interesting journey for Ahsoka, where she basically started to take the steps towards regaining her former self and kind of like going through what I suppose is the beginning of her great trial as a sort of Jedi slowly coming back into the fold. Really, we got a great exploration of her like mentor student teacher relationship with Sabine, and we got all these characters from Rebels who were either like, you had their actors coming back, like Lars Mikkelsen returning to lend his dulcet tones to that of Thrawn. It was very satisfying to hear him finally speak and share the screen with everyone. It was great to see him. I do wish we'd gotten a little more of the strategist from Thrawn a little bit, although I loved every part of him being here. As we said in our recap of it, Imanus Fundi as Ezra Bridger, perfect casting.
Yeah.
As that kid, he is Ezra. That's it. I loved Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera. She was great casting. She really kind of got Hera's kind of like mother bear kind of like personality and likability. Natasha Liu Bordizzo really nailed Sabine's personality. I loved I really felt for Sabine as well, because she gets put through the ringer too, like the backstory she now has of like her losing her family to Mandalore and the Purge. That was a real gut wrench of a twist. I almost wish they'd spent a little more time on it, but it was she's really capable. She's really steely, and she's fascinating to watch. And I love that she got so much action with the lightsabers, which was really cool. And her journey of becoming a Jedi was great. It was genuinely great. But obviously the two things one of the two things that got some of the strongest reaction from me was, of course, the return of Anakin Skywalker, the use of the world between worlds to give us this really trippy, esoteric kind of trip back into the Clone Wars, beyond the fanboying, the fan service stuff of Hayden in the armor, the clones, Rex, very briefly. You get this really interesting journey of Ahsoka, like being forced by her master to like confront this idea of like who she is, and to learn that, just because Anakin went bad, that's not in her. His legacy is not hers, she's only has come from the good parts of him, and she can carry the best of him forward without having to be tainted by the Vader of it all. But of course, my favorite thing was Yang. I've spent the last couple of years making this droid my personality effectively, and it was such a lovely thing to see him being brought into the show and given such loving care and translated so well with a really impressive animatronic. And obviously David Tennant investing that character with just real wisdom and wit and just giving this droid a real sense of age. You really feel that this droid has been around for so long, and though he has his programming and stuff, he is very wise, and he carries so much knowledge that he's accumulated from all the Jedi. It's great. There's so much. Dave Filoni really digs into a lot of it, and I'm just so fascinated to see where season 2 is going.
I'm going to be honest. My appreciation for Hu Yang in this season went up because I didn't realize it was an animatronic until just now. I thought it was CG the whole time.
There's some CG bits as well, when he throws hands with the HK droid. I think that's CGI, but I think a lot of it, because if you look at Natasha's and Rosario's selfies on Instagram, that the Hu Yang is there with them, pretty much. And I can tell from some of the movements that I'm guessing it was an animatronic. I'd love to know if David was on set for some of that. I probably don't think he was because of COVID or something, but I would love it if he was there for season 2. That would be really cool. Really, I want to see more of Yang.
Mm-hmm. So my number 1 is also Ahsoka. Surprise, surprise. It's so crazy to me, and I brought this up in our review. But if you go back to our last year's review of our year-end video, Jake and I were both almost not looking forward to the show at all. We were being very pessimistic. We weren't that excited just because of the animation to live action translation. How's it going to work? And we weren't too thrilled with how Rosario had portrayed the character up to that point. Then the trailers started coming out. Celebration comes out. I'm like, holy shit, this actually looks really freaking good. And then we get all this different stuff with Shin and Baylan and all the new questions there. And Sabine looks great. And Hera looks great. And we know Hayden's going to be in the season. I'm like, what are we going to do here? And I was so blown away. I was so blown away with this season. It was, as I talked about it on Twitter, I talked about it on the pod. It was the happiest live action Star Wars has made me since The Force Awakens. It's not saying that it's my favorite that we've had. It's not saying it's my favorite project or even my favorite show that we've had. But in terms of pure, unadulterated joy, making me feel like that kid that was discovering the prequels and watching Revenge of the Sith for the first time, this is the closest that show has brought me to those feelings. And that's why it's number 1 for me. Is there a chance that Survivor could come in and take the crown a couple months from now when I finish it, or a couple weeks, or however long it takes me?
It's probably
going to. However, right now, I can just say with full confidence that I loved this show. And any and all qualms that I had with how the season ended, what's going to happen now? Are they going to even have a second season? You're into that. Now we know there's one coming. And I think we all kind of figured that there was going to be one, but we were still kind of like, well, what if there isn't? And then how are they going to handle this? And then now we have the confirmation. So I'm very excited. My 2 favorite things about the season were the characters of Baylan and Shin, as I've talked about, and now 2 separate episodes. We're going to make it 3. Rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. You absolute freaking legend. I can't think of a better performance to go out than this. It's still insanely tragic that we lost him this early and so sudden.
It really is.
But talk about a legacy-defining performance here than him as Baylan Skoll. He steals the entire show. He's one of the most complex, different, but intriguing villains we've ever had. Maybe the best since the Emperor, if we're being, at least for me, this might be the hardest a Star Wars villain has hit me since the original trilogy. And that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
Because we've had so many great Maul, Dooku, Kylo Ren. And then you go to animation, and there's Thrawn, and there's so many. Look through the Clone Wars. There's so many different ones. Marky and Rowe. If you look to the games, there's so many different ones. You go to Legends. You're gonna open up a whole different can of worms. But in terms of how a character impacted me, I was like, holy shit, this Baylan guy is just something else. And I was just so intrigued. We talked about how Sabine was just portrayed perfectly by Natasha Lubrizio. She was fantastic. And then Ezra. Amanis Fondi is Ezra Bridger. It's crazy to me. Like, he sounds like Taylor Gray. He acts like Ezra Bridger. His Twitter is just Ezra. It's great. And
they even met up at the Emmys as well, him and Taylor Gray. It's just great.
That selfie was amazing. Just seeing the whole cast and seeing Taylor Gray there was great. I loved this season. I thought it was great. It completely exceeded any and all expectations I had. And I didn't even talk about the Clone Wars stuff. I didn't even talk about Anakin coming back, which was awesome. And again, visuals kind of wacky, but Hayden back in the armor was tremendous. And all the stuff with the duel in the world between worlds, like Conor said, Anakin with the red saber, man. Like
that Ventress name drop though, that kind of feels like foreshadowing now.
Who's this Asajj Ventress you're talking about? But no, I loved this season. It was great, and it's my number one for me. In terms of just pure joy, for now, it is my number one. But fittingly, let's end it off with Conor talking about what came out. I don't know. Something. I don't know.
Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, that's my number one.
Yes.
What else could it be? What else could it be?
Yeah, High Republic, something.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
If I got caught up. I mean, not really say much because Andrew hasn't finished it yet, and I don't want to say much, but
talk about whatever big things you need to talk about.
It's a really good
Go
story.
ahead.
It really pushes Cal, for me at least, in a different direction than I was anticipating. And I really Survivor, there are things that happen in this story that like I really had to grapple with for a good while. And while I still prefer Fallen Order's story, like Survivor's story just is also really fucking strong. With what happens in it for Cal and to Cal, you know, what he goes through. Yeah, that's all I'm going to really say story-wise.
I mean, you said tearjerker. If it's the thing that Alden spoiled for me in the notorious pre-Ahsoka StreamYard meeting.
God damn it.
The horror.
The
horror in my eyes when that happened.
I bring up how...
No.
Yeah.
No. We ain't saying it. We're not saying it.
We're not saying it
here. Oh, we're not
say
saying
it, then it will be real.
We're not saying it on air. Story-wise, really good. Gameplay-wise, holy shit.
The different saber styles, man.
Blows Fallen Order out of the wall. I can't even say that. It takes the foundation of Fallen Order and just builds it up. Just really. I guess
this isn't a spoiler.
It's like
out of all the stances, what is your favorite one to play with? That's not a spoiler.
Okay. Here's the thing. Yes.
Okay.
So
all right.
Okay. My least favorite. Wait.
I know about all of them.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they revealed the crossguard in the marketing.
Okay, yeah, that's right. My least favorite's probably the crossguard because of how slow it is comparatively. But the rest of them, dual wield's pretty fucking fun. Double bladed, like I've talked about it before on here, I think, where like double bladed and Fallen Order felt very stiff, just didn't feel right. Dude, the double bladed saber, what they did in Survivor, dude, I could fuck stormtroopers up.
I'm wrecking
all day
with the double blade already. I already got it customized. I got the purple blade.
Oh my god, I can't even. The lightsaber customization is fucking insane. Like if we thought if it was good in Fallen Order, dude, Survivors is nuts. It's so good. Like I can customize brilliant. Like it's like primary material, secondary material, accents, fucking paint jobs and shit. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like
And I won't say there is.
especially once you unlock everything for it, it's
Yeah.
like, fuck, dude. There is a lot of options.
There's so much in this. Like even the lore and world building that they establish. I won't get into spoilers, but there is one little how you get one of the saber pieces, because some of them come in like individual things, some of them you get in sets, which I don't think is a spoiler to say, but there's one saber bit that you get, and the reference and the way it's done, absolutely, it was very masterfully connecting one part of Star Wars to another, in my opinion, and really just made me go, "Oh yeah, that does actually make sense." Yeah, it's just
Wait.
very. I'll DM you what it is, Connor, after we finish
You gotta
recording.
text it to me right now because I'm gonna
I'll
forget.
DM it to you right now. Yeah,
I need to
But
know.
yeah.
I will react on air. Obviously not spoilery, but like so because like the lightsaber, yeah, dude, the lightsaber combat is really good. Like I can't really. Basically, Andrew, you're gonna encounter like a good amount of quote unquote like mini bosses.
I've already fought 2 or 3 of them.
And
So,
you're gonna encounter more.
yeah.
It's really fucking cool. And it like
Wow.
I've set like as you've probably seen online for my stuff. Dude, fighting Magna Guards, man. That shit's hype.
So
it's
I'll
so
say
cool.
I'll say
it.
you know what I'm gonna say is
Cool.
because I haven't gotten any Magna Guards yet, but I forgot commando droids were in this game, and one of them popped out of the fucking blue when I was going through Kobo last, and I was like, "Holy shit, commando droids!" And I got hyped. I was like, "Yeah, here we go." Another really cool moment. Again, very early in the game, but as you're going through Coruscant, you and Bode are just going through it, and you're just going through a small space, and then boom, a KX droid just grabs you by the throat, throws you to the ground. It got me. I was like, whoa. And it was like a different color too, I
Yeah.
believe. So pretty sweet. Just I guess without spoiling, well, not really. I guess what compared to Fallen Order's story, longer, same length. What would you say? Like in terms of how long it took you to beat the game for the first time?
Okay, that's kind of hard to answer because of the fact that like 2 of the worlds are very open and you can just do what the fuck ever. Within within reason, within your powers that you have at that time. You know what? I'm just gonna Google it. I'm just gonna fucking Google it.
I'll say the 2 things that I immediately was like, oh, I'm so back, was the first time I force pushed a stormtrooper and using the grappling hook item or whatever it's called for the first time.
Grappling hook slaps.
I was
so
like,
cool.
oh, I was like, this fits right. And I was like, I audibly was like, this is fucking awesome.
There is a set piece, Andrew. I won't spoil it, but there is a set piece later on down the line that takes the traversal element, and it is truly incredible. Like you genuinely feel like you are going through a movie set piece from Star Wars. It's
yeah. Oh yes.
Literally my emotions when playing that sequence.
So literally, what I'm hearing is every discussion we've had about Survivor in this episode, put a pin in it. We'll come back to it in a little bit when I finish the game.
I looked it
and
up.
We'll
Andrew,
go all out.
Just Google. It says like about 20 hours for Survivor. I can't remember what it was for Fallen Order. If I had to guess, it probably is a bit longer than Fallen Orders. At least it seems that way to me. I'm not really sure.
There's a lot of juicy bits to the story from the stuff I know. I'm ready to die, but I'm also very excited to finish it.
I was ready to die.
Yeah, I'm just ready to die. From the 2 big things I know, I'm ready to fucking die.
You'll hear it. You hear
worse.
about it, but experiencing it is worse.
Oh yes.
No.
But like, just the gameplay is so fun. And the one thing I honestly hate isn't in Survivor, that's in Fallen Order, is the meditation training. Ooh. I want the battle grid. I want to just fight Magna Guards all fucking day. That is all I want.
The fact that you can cut their head off and they keep coming, just like
That
in
is
Revenge of the
just-
Sith, it's great. Like
One
they even
last-
do the little flourish as well, like in
Oh,
like
it's
when
so
Obi-Wan
good.
fights one. It's great.
One last question for you before
Okay.
we wrap things up with this list. What hurt more, the Order 66 scene in Fallen Order or Alden Gate, what he spoiled for me in Survivor, which we're not going to mention by name?
So, at this very moment, on the recording date, because of the fact that, let's just say, through writing, I've been able to sort of form this like kinship with Seer Junda as a character that I haven't been able to before, and really like get to know her and relate to her more than I did before. Yeah, Survivor. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to die, pretty much is what you're saying.
Probably.
Yeah, all right. So that is the lists. So to recap, my number 5 was Visions Volume 2. My number 4 was Shadows of Starlight. My number 3, asterisk, for now, is Jedi Survivor. I have not finished the story yet. Number 2 is The Bad Batch Season 3. And my number 1 was Ahsoka. Don, if you want to just real quickly go over your list one more time for the viewers.
Okay, so my number 5 was The Mandalorian Season 3. My number 4 was Jedi Battle Scars. My number 3 was The Bad Batch Season 2. My number 2 was Jedi Survivor. And my number 1 was Ahsoka.
All right, and Connor, for you?
5 was Jedi Battle Scars. 4 was Ahsoka episode Shadow Warrior. 3 was the Yoda comic written by Kevin Scott, Jody Hauser, I want to say Mark Guggenheim, and one other author, I think. I don't know. I can't remember. Who cares? It's great. 2 is the Keep Trennis story from the High Republic anthology, Tales of Light and Life. That story is titled Light in the Darkness. And number 1 is the sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor.
There we go. But the real question is, what did you all think about 2023 in Star Wars? What was your favorite story of the year? So we had a couple different options. We had our 3 live action or
I was
3.
going to make a football joke,
yeah.
but then I decided against it.
We had our 3 shows, and we had whatever else you wanted to nominate. But with 56% of the vote, Ahsoka was your favorite Star Wars story of 2023. Jedi Survivor, of course, got a lot of love in the comments, but Ahsoka ends up winning. But then
to go back to that poll and go through the comments.
Go through the comments. But as for what we're looking forward to the most in 2024, I put a couple different options up there.
High Republic.
Yeah, with 64.
The Phillies maybe winning the World Series.
There we go. But just like Connor, with 64.3% of the vote, The Acolyte is your most anticipated Star Wars story of 2024. We got a couple good things coming out. We got Bad Batch. We've got Skeleton Crew, if that comes out. It's supposed to. We've got Acolyte, of course. Outlaws, our next big Star Wars game, is coming out with the...
That's not fitting on my PS5. Dude, I have like no storage now.
Hopefully, I'll have finished Baldur's Gate 3 by the time I get around to that. And
that's the reason why
around.
near the end of me getting the PS4, I got an external hard drive just so I can plug that shit in and then download it. Because, yeah. But open world Star Wars is going to be fun with, as Scotty Halliday coined, the sexy commando droid. So that'll be very interesting to play that one and get to see a non-EA Star Wars game for our first time in almost a decade, which is kind of crazy thinking about it. But I'm very interested in seeing how that game is going to turn out. And of course, High Republic and live action. Give me that shit right now. I'm so looking forward to The Acolyte. Release the trailer, Lucasfilm. Release it. We
Give us
just got the Bad Batch one.
Give us the damn trailer. We want to see it.
Unfortunately, we don't have a celebration this year to really go super into the shows that are coming out, but we've got ourselves another fun year ahead of us that we're all looking forward to. As for us, we're going to have the same fun that we had this year or last year. We're going to have this year, hopefully with no long breaks, because studios don't like paying their actors or their writers. Hopefully that gets fixed this time. But we will be back with we'll be doing weekly reviews for the Bad Batch. We'll be doing it for the Acolyte when they come out. And then any other little things that come around, like if there is a book or a comic we all really want to talk about, we can do an episode about that. When I get around to finishing Jedi Survivor, we're going to do episodes on that because we've been waiting and we're finally going to go all out and talk about it and not just in the walking on eggshells version that we did in this episode. Because I can't afford to hurt any more than I already have. And of course, Clone Wars Rewatch, the reason we started this podcast, as we're approaching our 2nd anniversary, we will be back. Our very next episode is going to be finally getting into the Clone Wars again. Holocron Heist,
baby.
Cad Bane, in lieu of him returning once again in the Bad Batch Season 3. We're going to see how we were first introduced to the character all those years ago, which is going to be very interesting to revisit those again. I'm going to pretend that I didn't watch those episodes in June when we thought that we were going to be doing them in the summer, and then the SAG strikes happened. So we're going to rewatch them again, and we're going to do that. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for supporting us for a whole nother year. It's crazy that we've been doing this. Like I said, March is going to be the 2-year anniversary of For the Republic, and it's crazy. This was a bit of a rocky year. We went on a bit more breaks than I was expecting. I take a lot of blame for that. I didn't have the best first half of the year, and it was a bit crazy after that. And then, of course, we had the SAG strike, so we were trying to figure out what we wanted the show to be while we couldn't say the words Ahsoka, and while we couldn't talk about the films. But we're back. There's a lot of cool stuff coming soon, and we're going to make 2024 a great one. And just me personally, I have so many things that I want to do and so many ideas that I want to try. And we're going to make this year the best year of the pod that we've ever had. I'm very excited for what we have in store. And it's going to be a fun one. So thank you again for joining us for one more year of the pod. What was your favorite Star Wars story of 2023? Let us know. But where can the people find you, starting with Donovan? Where can everyone find you on the internet?
So you can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead. You can find me on TikTok at Donovan McComish, Instagram at Donovan_McComish, Threads Donovan_McComish as well, and Blue Sky at DonovanMcComish.bsky.social. Do a lot of posting about Star Wars on those various platforms, mostly Twitter at the moment, but yeah. And like Conor, you can also find me writing questions for Star Wars Epic Confrontations along with Eli. We've got some really exciting matches coming up soon, but really cool. So yeah, tune in if you like intense trivia. And you can also find me and Conor as writers and executive producers for SWEF.
Our official
fiction.
titles, yeah.
Our official titles. We have official titles.
Oh, hell yeah.
We're going through a bit of a restructuring with with SWEF, and we've got a lot of exciting projects coming up for later this year that are really, really cool. We've got a really cool group of people back rejuvenated working on these stories. As of right now, I have written one story called Scars of War that released back in June 2022. It stars a clone survivor of Order 66 called Blister. I know, I can't believe it's been that long, Conor. I really can't. It stars a clone who survived Order 66 called Blister, encountering a Jedi survivor of Order 66, and how they process even dealing with one another after the sheer weight of that event. So yeah, if you like Star Wars and a lot of pain, emotional turmoil, PTSD, definitely check out Scars of War. I had a lot of fun writing it, and friend of the pod, Jake, did a fantastic piece of cover art for it. So grateful to him for doing that.
Absolutely. Mr. Dr. Pershing himself, fresh off an award-winning performance this year. Where can the people find you?
They can find me on Twitter, basically threatening to kill myself over Philly sports. At
Oh, I know how you feel.
yep, solidarity, my good sir. Fuck the
Solidarity
Chiefs.
to the parry, guys.
You can find me on Twitter at Death of Banana. You can find me on Instagram at ConmanFo. Like Don said, Star Wars in the Galaxy Epic Confrontations. You can find all of our matches over on the Star Wars in the Galaxy podcast YouTube channel. It's fun. I like writing questions and torturing people that way. You can also find me. You can also find me over on the Nerd Academy podcast with guest of the show here, Jared the Dark Jedi, as our main host. We talk Star Wars over there on Knights of the Nerd Republic. That's cool. We do the same thing there that we do here. You can find us Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And like Don said, you can find me over at SW Editor, SWE Fiction. Site's not up yet. Going through some renovations. It'll be up at some point later this year. Do we know when? I don't know. We'll figure it out. I have stories in development. They're kind of all about Cal Kestis, as you could probably guess. So, could I tell you about one? Maybe. Will I? Nah, I don't feel like it.
As for myself, you can find me blocking Austin of SWE on Twitter for trolling me last night after the Bills-Chiefs game. You can also find me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at Starlight Andrew. You can find me playing Jedi Survivor and probably tweeting about it later tonight and throughout the week. I'm so ready to get more into that game. Pod itself, you can find us on Twitter at For the Repub Pod and on Instagram and TikTok at For the Republic Pod. YouTube channel For the Republic Podcast, where you can watch us in glorious video form. And, of course, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen, check us out there. Give us a nice rating. It really helps out with the pod. And, yeah, I got some fun stuff coming. I'm going to get the blog going again, starlightjournal.blog. I'm going to try to hopefully have one article up by the end of the month, hoping to do some kind of year-end thing. And then I have a massive written project I have that I'm going to start working on very soon, going over the entirety of everything I watched last year. So
nice.
I'll start working on that very soon, and I'll have my top 10 of the year up as well.
Big energy with that one.
Energy with that one. I just got to see, I think, 4 or 5 more movies, and then I'll be good to start writing that from last year. So, yeah, look forward to that. Look forward to what we have in store for you in 2024. And until next time, we'll see you guys later, and may the Force be with you always.